Hello, Facebook. Welcome back to Baking with Sharon. So glad to have you all tune in this evening. Tonight we will be making chocolate cookies and also chocolate chip cookies. So welcome, and if you have any questions, just please place your comments, your questions in the comment box. And if I miss your question, I'll try and get to it. And if I don't see it before the session is over, I will answer your question after the baking is over. So welcome again. The first cookie that we're going to bake, we're going to start with the chocolate cookies. I love chocolate. I don't like chocolate chip cookies because they use the semi-sweet chocolate morsels, and I don't really like a really sweet chocolate, but I do like dark chocolate. So I'm going to use dark chocolate for the chocolate cookies, and then we'll start on the chocolate chip cookies. All right, the first thing I want to do for the chocolate cookies, this recipe calls for 2 cups of flour, and I do use a self-rising flour where I don't have to add the baking soda and the salt, so I cheat a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and add 2 cups of flour, and I'm going to sift the flour. When you sift the flour, it breaks up the lumps that are in the flour. And I'm also going to add the cocoa powder to the flour so that it will blend really well. And also this recipe calls for instant coffee. I'm going to add the instant coffee in there as well and sift it all together to make sure it's all blended really well. Okay, so we're going to add 2 cups of self-rising flour. And it really doesn't matter what brand. I buy different brands of the self-rising flour. And I don't have a normal sifter, but if you have a colander that's similar to this one, they have the real small holes in it, it works really well as a sifter. So I'm going to go ahead and place this in the bowl, and I'll show you as we're going through the sifting. All right, so that's 1 cup. Okay, this is the 2nd cup of flour. I'm going to place this to the side. Excuse me. And if you see here how the flour is really like a lumpy, when you sift it, it makes it really fine. So I'm going to go ahead and add the coffee. And excuse me, my allergies are acting up, so excuse me if you hear me coughing. So this particular recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of instant coffee, and I use the Folgers instant coffee. So I'm going to pour that in. And this one also calls for, this is the cocoa powder, a 1/2 cup of cocoa powder. And I use, again, the dark chocolate cocoa powder. So I put that all in the colander. And when you sift it, you see how it's breaking up the flour, and it doesn't take really long. So now I'll show you how the coffee and the cocoa powder and the flour is really blending well in the bowl here. And you see that didn't take very long at all. So there are 3 little things left. I'll go ahead and pour those in there. So if you see how the coffee and the flour and the cocoa powder blended really well with the flour. So we're going to go ahead and set this aside for now. We'll come back to it a little bit later. So I want to get that done first. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do with this particular recipe, it calls for 1 pound of semi-sweet chocolate. Again, I use the dark chocolate morsels, and we need to melt the chocolate. So I'm going to melt the chocolate in the microwave. You can melt it on top of the stove if you had a double boiler, but I don't have one. And I did try and put this over a bowl of hot water to melt it, but it does better when it's in the microwave. So we're gonna step over to the microwave. So we're gonna melt the butter in 15-second increments because you don't want to burn the butter. So I'm gonna set it for a minute. Let me get my spoon. So every 15 seconds we're gonna stop to stir the morsels because we don't want them to burn at the bottom of the bowl. So I hope you all had a good day on today. That's a little bit more than 15 seconds. So we're gonna, bowl is a little hot. So I'm gonna stir them up a little bit. Then we're gonna put it back in the microwave. We gotta have that plate in there from earlier today. So we're going to put it back in. And again, this is a pound of chocolate morsels. You can use the semi-sweet if you want. It's a little bit sweeter. So I'm going to let it go 30 seconds this time more. Okay, you see the chocolate is starting to melt. So this is about maybe 16 ounces. I'm going to go ahead and add the other, 16 ounces. I'm going to pop it back in the microwave. Put it on another minute. Let's see who's on tonight. Thank you, Angela, for joining. Kathy, Philip, Tracy, Tommy, Francis. All right, we're gonna pop it out again. And we're gonna stir it up a little bit more. And you see the chocolate morsels are melting really well. I think maybe one other increment of 30 seconds would do the job. Hi, Roy. So I hope you all like chocolate. If you like chocolate, give me a comment that you like chocolate. If you prefer chocolate over cookies over chocolate chip cookies, let me know. All right, yeah, this did the job. All right, so you see the chocolate has melted really well. So we're gonna go ahead and place this aside, and we're gonna come back around. All right, so now it's time to get down to the nitty-gritty here. So we're gonna go ahead and add our butter, and this recipe calls for 10 tablespoons of unsalted butter. And this particular bar here is 8 tablespoons. So I'm gonna go ahead and add this entire bar. And I'm gonna take 2 tablespoons from this bar here. If I can find how to open it, there we are. Okay, and then we're gonna add, remember my secret ingredient from last week? I'm gonna add about 2 tablespoons of Miracle Whip. I'm gonna go ahead and add that to the mixture as well. One cup of white sugar. And this recipe calls for 1.5 cups of brown sugar. So this is 1 cup of brown sugar, and this is 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So I pre-measured everything. Hello, Missy. So we mix this all together until it gets really creamy. All right. It's getting there. Okay, now I'm going to add the chocolate that we just melted in the microwave. I'm going to add the chocolate to the mixture. I'm sorry, I need to do the eggs first. So we're going to add, this particular recipe calls for 4 eggs. So we're going to go ahead and add the eggs one at a time. So we add 1 egg and then we'll mix that in. All right, so let's add the second egg. I'm going to mix that in. So you want to mix it till it's really creamy. Okay, we're going to add the third egg. Okay, Missy is asking, what am I making? I'm sorry, not making the chocolate cookies first. The chocolate cookies. There's a difference between the chocolate cookies and the chocolate chip cookies. This is a chocolate cookie. I'm going to mix in the last egg now. All right, so we'll see how creamy the mixture is. It's nice and creamy, and that's how you want the batter for that stage of the mixing. And now we're going to pour in the chocolate. And this is 16 ounces or a pound of dark chocolate. I'm going to mix the chocolate in. Oh, it's looking so yummy. So see how yummy that looks? Those are going to make some great cookies. Karen says, my favorite. All right. Okay, now it's time for us to mix in the flour. So I'm going to take the flour that I sifted earlier with the cocoa powder and the instant coffee. I'm going to go ahead and mix that in. So most of y'all know that this month is October, and there are different things that we celebrate in October or recognize, and one is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So if you have your pink shirts, make sure you wear your pink shirts one day this month, or maybe a few days this month. And also, this is Clergy Appreciation Month. So if you have a pastor, make sure you appreciate your pastor this month. All right, we're going to add another cup of the flour. Ooh, it's looking really yummy. I think I might get a little dirty on this one. And make sure when you're mixing that you get the flour that ends up on the side of the bowl. All right, it's coming together really well here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and add in the rest of the flour. I'm going to be really excited to taste these chocolate cookies. Ooh, got to put my muscle into it. It's getting thick. Almost done here. Okay, and I'm going to put these in the refrigerator to let them chill a little bit before we put them in the oven. So they'll chill while we get in the dough ready for the chocolate chip cookies. All right. So you see all that goodness, chocolate, yum. So I'm going to put this mixture, the dough, in another bowl. And I have to wash this bowl for the chocolate chip cookies. Where did my bowls go? All right, so I'm going to pour this in this bowl here. And you'll see how thick it is when it comes out. See how nice and thick that is? That's going to make for a really good cookie. I won't leave it in here. I'm going to try and get most of it out. All right. So let's try this. Always make sure you wash your hands when you're baking because you may have to use your fingers. Okay, I think that's going to be good enough. All right, so I'm going to put this in the microwave so it can chill a little bit. And then we'll come back and bake some in a few minutes. All right, so let me wash this bowl. Put that over there. Have to rinse some of this chocolate out first. Some of you all had an opportunity to taste the peanut butter cookies and the pecan sandies and the oatmeal cookies from last week. So if you like those cookies, let us know if they were to your liking, if you would like some more. All right, so let me wash this out really quickly. A lot of chocolate in there. Excuse me. All right, we're almost done. All right. I think maybe I have to find me another bowl. I love this bowl. All right, so we got it all clean for the next cookies. Let's dry it off a little bit. Hello, Valerie. Hello, Carol. Okay, now I'm going to turn the oven on. I'm going to preheat the oven, and I preheat my oven to 400. For cookies, you can usually do 350 to 375 to 400. That depends on the temperature of your oven. So I'm going to set my oven to 400. Mine calls for 400. All right, so let's get started on the chocolate chip cookies. Excuse me. Okay, for the chocolate chip cookies, this calls for 1 cup of butter and 2 sticks of margarine equals 1 cup of butter. So I'm gonna go ahead. I took the butter. If I can find the opening on this one as well. I took the butter out of the refrigerator this morning so it would soften up. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add in the 2 tablespoons of America Whip. Shake it in there. Good. And this recipe calls for 1 cup of brown sugar and 1 cup of white sugar. So I'm going to go ahead and put in both of them. I'm going to mix them up together. Got to find my spoon. All right, so we're going to go ahead and mix the sugar and the butter together. Hi, Sarah. So you want it nice and fluffy. All right, so you see the sugar and the butter is mixed really nicely. Excuse me. Okay, now we're going to beat in the eggs, and this particular recipe calls for 2 eggs. The last recipe was 4 eggs. So we're going to put in 2 eggs, 1 at a time. Some recipes I go ahead and put them all at once. Ooh, come on out there. Mix it. And put in the second egg. Hi, Robert. Okay, so this is the mixture after you put in the eggs with the butter and the sugar. Okay, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of vanilla. Forgot to take that out. We're going to mix in the vanilla. All right. Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add the chocolate morsels. And I did get this one in the semi-sweet. So if y'all want some chocolate chip cookies, I'm not going to really eat them because I don't really like chocolate chip cookies. Let me know and I'll try my best to get you some chocolate chip cookies. But some of these cookies will be used for an outreach that we're going to have on October 18th. So they're not all going to waste. Or they're not going to waste. I'm going to go ahead and put all the chocolate chip morsels in. Mix it in really well. Okay, now I'm going to add in the flour. And this particular recipe calls for 3 cups of flour. And I already have some pre-sifted flour here, so we don't have to do that process again. I'm going to go ahead and add in 3 cups of flour. So I'm going to add 1 cup at a time. Hi, Bonnie. Y'all see the flour flying everywhere? Okay, the 2nd cup of flour. Oh, I did say that. Okay. I almost forgot to, I thought I forgot to set the oven, but I did. My flour's getting away from me tonight. All right, we're going to add the last cup of flour. Oh, there's some other things that are observed in the month of October, and one is National Crime Prevention. My dad used to work with the Crime Prevention Unit at the University of Florida, and every October they would have these different seminars, and at times I would meet him for those crime prevention seminars. And it's also National Dyslexia Month. National Family History Month, so sit down and talk to your family. I didn't know that, about your family history. And also Down Syndrome Month. All right, so this is the mixture for the chocolate chip cookies. We're going to go ahead and put some on the baking sheet, and we're going to bake a few of them, and I'll let you all know how they taste. Even though it's not a favorite of mine, I'm pretty sure it tastes okay. Next time I have somebody come who likes chocolate chip cookies, and they will let you know, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna taste good. So we're gonna trade places a little bit. We're gonna come over here so you all can see. I'm just gonna take a spoon and just put a few drops on the cookie sheet. I'll only do like 3 of those for now. Put these aside. And I'm going to take the chocolate cookies out of the refrigerator and add some of those on the baking sheet as well. So we put a few drops of the chocolate. Just put them a couple inches apart. And you see I have a few drops of the chocolate and the chocolate chip on the baking sheet. And we're going to let these bake for 8 minutes. Set the timer. Okay, and while those are baking, I want to show you all how you can store your dough and roll it up and put it in the freezer. But let me clean my little area just a little bit. Flour sort of got away from me on this session here. Let me drink some water right quick. See who? Hi, Nicole. Okay, so this is how you can store your cookies in a refrigerator. So if you know you're having company coming and you want to get prepared ahead of time, you can store your cookies in the freezer. And we're going to roll them up, so when you take them out of the freezer, all you have to do is slice them. Just like if you buy it out of the grocery store, you can slice the cookies and put them on the cookie sheet. So I have some saran wrap. So pull the saran wrap. I'm going to make it a good length. I'm going to put actually I want to go the long way with this. Y'all know it's always fun to work with saran wrap, right? It can be a lot of issues. It sticks to everything. So we're going to pour some of the batter on the saran wrap. So I'm going to have to make 2 rolls with that batter there. So we sort of want to spread it out, so make sure your hands are clean, just to spread it out just a little bit to make like a log. Then you're going to wrap the saran wrap over and then fold the other side over. And you have your log here. And you can roll it or stretch it out like this. And you tie the edges. Hello, Barbara. So you tie the edges like such, and then you can put it in the freezer, and it'll freeze, and all you have to do is cut it. So I'll show you some that I have already placed in the freezer and how easy it is to cut once you get it out of the freezer. So I'm going to go ahead and place this aside for now. So these are actually some of the oatmeal cookies that I froze. So if I wanted to bake some, I'll just take it out. Get my little cutter here. And I need a knife. and it comes off easily. So you may have to like cut one end initially, but this one was already cut from earlier today. Somebody wanted some cookies. So when you take it out of the freezer, you can let it thaw out just a little bit. See how easy it is to cut? And you have round cookies. So that's a good way that you can store your cookies in the freezer. So whenever company comes over, you can act like you baked them before you got there. Just throw flour everywhere, but you've already prepared. I'm just kidding. But you can do that if you want to. All right. So that's one way you can store your cookies. Now I'm going to go ahead and bake those tonight and enjoy those. I'm going to put this back in the freezer. So we have about 3 minutes. I'm going to sit this aside. Excuse me. And one thing I recommend when you put them in the freezer, although you have it wrapped in a saran wrap, the saran wrap is like a really thin plastic, but I would recommend after you wrap them in saran wrap to put them in a freezer bag. That way they will keep longer in the freezer. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put these other ones in the saran wrap where we'll wait. And I'm going to do the same thing with the chocolate chip dough. Put the rest of the batter in here. Again, we're going to stretch it out a little bit. We're going to fold it over and fold over the other half. Stretch it out. Tie the edges of it. Says, do I want to tag Melissa Small in this video? Is that a question for me? Sure. All right, so we have another log of the cookie dough that we're going to put in the freezer. And I heard that first beep. That means the cookies are almost done. And actually, I may put a couple more minutes. I did put a lot of dough on there, so I may put a couple minutes on the timer. All right, so while we're waiting for that, I'm going to go ahead and put the dough, the chocolate chip dough. We're going to go ahead and store that. Prepare it for storage, rather. So I hope you all are enjoying this session on tonight. If you have any questions, just let me know. All right, we're going to put the chocolate chip dough on here. Come on, see? I told you about this saran wrap. How fun it is. So I put a little bit more. So I'm going to try and wrap this one without. All right, so we made it with that one. And stretch it out. And tie the edges. This one is a little short, so I may not be able to tie this one. Maybe I put a sandwich wrap on that side. And Valerie said the peanut butter cookies were delicious. Thank you very much, Valerie. All right, so this end was a little short, so I got a sandwich wrap. I always say these, you can use them for something. So I'm going to tie this in with a sandwich wrap. Let me check the cookies. They're looking delicious. They're almost done. Oh. So we have one more cookie log to make. I'm going to take the cookies out of the oven, and we're going to let those cool for a few minutes because I don't want to burn my tongue. 14 seconds on the clock and counting. So I do like, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hold on. Whoa. All right, here, whoa, excuse me. This is hot, so I'm gonna put this over here. I'll show you. That was very hot. Where's my other? Give me 1 second, y'all. Okay, it's a little bit better now. So we have our cookies. I'm gonna let them cool for a couple minutes before I try and taste. And with the chocolate chip cookies, excuse me. Thank you very much, Karen. Hello, Jackie. Hi, Carlin. With the chocolate chip cookies, you can always add pecans, or if you want to add walnuts. I was gonna add some walnuts. I said, well, you know, I said chocolate chip cookies, so I made chocolate chip cookies. But you can always add different nuts with the cookies. So we're gonna let those cool just for a few minutes while I finish this last log. For those of us who just joined, we made chocolate cookies and chocolate chip cookies. So I'm showing you how you can store your cookies in the freezer and save them for a later time. Just put them in saran wrap. Fold this side and fold the other side. So to make it into a log, you tie one side, and then you tie the other side. Let me spread that out a little bit more. Hello, Barbara. Hi, Jackie. All right, so I'm going to put the cookies on a plate here. Okay, so I'll taste the chocolate chip one first. You always want to make sure your cookies cool before you move them off the cookie rack. That way they won't break apart. Even though I like chocolate chip cookies, excuse me, this is good. Really good. It's hot, but it's good. Let me drink some water. Woo, hot. Just a second, Valerie. Valerie asked, how much is the dough? I haven't said the price on the dough, but we'll talk. Now, for the chocolate cookie. See how nice and moist that is? This is delicious. I love dark chocolate. This is delicious. This is like so good. I wish y'all could taste it. I really do. I wish I could just come through Facebook and just hand you one. Good. Oh, she's looking at my stockpile of dough. Valerie is. But we'll talk if you want to buy the dough. Well, I want to thank you all for joining me again tonight. We learned how to bake chocolate cookies, which are delicious, and also the chocolate chip cookies, which are also delicious. Thank you all so much for joining me. You have a good night, and we'll see you on next week. Next week, we're going to do the gingerbread cookies and banana pudding. Next week, gingerbread cookies and banana pudding. Have a good night. Love you. Take care. Thank you, Valerie. Whoa. You don't want to shut off. Good night, Nicole. Good night, Kathy.